Have you ever just stopped and thought about the rhythm of a relationship? You know how one minute it feels so completely effortless, and the next it's a challenge. Today, we're going to unpack a really powerful metaphor for that journey, a story that I think is going to feel pretty familiar to a lot of us.
Man, this really just gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? It speaks to that vulnerability, that feeling of taking a leap and loving someone, even when you're filled with uncertainty. It's beautiful and it's real.
So, this brings us to the core idea, the relationship pendulum. Just picture it, a pendulum swinging back and forth. That's kind of like every relationship, swinging between these moments of intense, amazing connection and then periods of distance. Now, the most important thing to get here is that this swing isn't a sign of failure, not at all. It's the natural, almost physical rhythm of two people doing life together.
All right, so every pendulum has to start its swing somewhere, right? And for a relationship, that starting point is almost always this incredible high point of connection.
You know this feeling. We all do. It's the spark. That phase where you can talk for hours, where the future just seems to stretch out in front of you. Together. Everything just clicks. It's the absolute peak of the pendulum's arc, that moment of perfect, beautiful alignment.
But here's the thing about pendulums. They don't stay at the top forever. Gravity always kicks in. The shift away from that initial spark starts so subtly you might not even notice it. That effortless connection, it starts to have this quiet tension underneath it. Conversations about a shared future get replaced by unspoken needs that aren't being met. And that initial idealization, it starts to fade, and a small, almost invisible distance begins to grow between you.
So that quiet tension, if you just leave it there, if you don't address it, well, it starts to pick up speed. This is where the pendulum's swing away from connection really accelerates, and it starts moving the relationship into a much tougher and, honestly, a much more dangerous phase.
This is where things can really start to go south. That quiet tension, it's like fuel. It doesn't just sit there. It creates this environment where a tiny disagreement can blow up into a huge fight. It's the first domino in a chain reaction that can lead to a really serious breakdown.
And here's how that chain reaction usually plays out. First, ego gets in the driver's seat. It stops being us against the problem and becomes me versus you. And then, words, which used to build you up, suddenly become weapons. They're designed to hurt, to win. After the fight, the silence isn't for recovery. It's used as a punishment. And when you add all of that up, you get to the final, devastating step. Trust just collapses.
And this gets to such a critical point. We tend to think of trust breaking in some big, dramatic explosion, but that's rarely how it happens. It's more often a slow, quiet erosion. A death by 1,000 cuts from all those little broken promises, those weaponized words, and those punishing silences, until one day you look down and the entire foundation is gone.
So when the pendulum hits that absolute lowest point, when trust is shattered, this is the question that just hangs in the air. Is it over? Is there any coming back from this? But see, the bottom of the swing doesn't have to be the end. It can be a turning point. It's a moment of decision, really. A moment where the pendulum can either grind to a halt for good, or it can begin that slow, very intentional journey back toward connection.
Now this is so important. The swing back doesn't start with just saying, "I forgive you." It can't. The path to healing has to begin with both people looking squarely at the damage, acknowledging it honestly, without making excuses. I mean, you can't fix what you pretend isn't broken, right?
So from that point of honesty, two clear paths emerge. On one hand, you have rebuilding. This means doing the work, creating repair rituals, like maybe a rule where you always talk through a fight within 24 hours. The other path is releasing, and that's also an active process of grieving what's lost and then moving forward to build a new life. The key thing here is that neither path is passive. Both take real, conscious effort.
And for the people who choose to rebuild, it really boils down to these truths. A strong, lasting love isn't one that avoids conflict. That's impossible. It's one that has a system, a ritual for repairing the connection after things get messy. Lasting love isn't about trying to live in that initial spark forever. It's about the quiet, sometimes hard, intentional work of guiding that pendulum back toward the middle after it's swung all the way out to the edge.
So as we wrap this up, maybe just take a second for yourself. Think about the important connections in your own life. Where is your pendulum right now? Are you in that initial spark, the quiet tension, or maybe you're in the middle of that hard work of repair? Just understanding where you are, that can be the very first step toward guiding it where you want it to go.